The drums were loud, and the air smelled of jollof rice and fried meat. Adaora adjusted her jella, the stiff fabric pinching her forehead as she stood in the corner of the hall. Her cousin Neka was getting married, and the whole family was here. Adaora loved weddings, but today she felt like a stranger in her own skin. "Adaora, come and dance!" her aunties called, pulling her into the circle of women. She forced a smile and swayed her hips, but her mind was far away. She could hear the whispers, even over the music. "See her, 32 years old and still single. When will she marry? She's too picky. All these educated girls, they want perfect men that don't exist." Adora's cheeks burned. She wanted to scream, "I'm happy the way I am," but she kept quiet. Instead, she slipped away from the dance floor and found a quiet spot near the buffet table. That's when she saw him. Chike was tall, with a smile that lit up his face. He was holding a plate of rice, laughing with a group of friends. Adaora couldn't help but stare. He looked different, not like the other men who always tried to impress her with big cars and empty promises. "You look like you need a drink," Chike said, suddenly standing in front of her. He handed her a glass of Chapman, his eyes warm and kind. Adaora smiled. "Thank you." They talked for hours. Chike was an engineer who loved his job and had big dreams. He was funny, smart, and seemed to really listen when she spoke. For the first time in a long time, Adaora felt seen. But as the night went on, something felt off. Chike kept asking questions about her work. "You're a fashion designer? That's nice, but don't you think it's time to settle down? A woman's place is in the home, you know." Adaora's smile faltered. "I love my job. It's who I am." Chike laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. Of course, but after marriage, you'll have more important things to focus on." Adaora's heart sank. Was this what she had been waiting for? A man who wanted to clip her wings? As the party ended, Chike asked for her number. Adaora gave it to him, but her mind was racing. She didn't know it yet, but this wedding was the beginning of a storm that would force her to choose between the life she wanted and the life everyone else expected of her. 2 weeks after the wedding, Adaora's phone buzzed. It was Chike. "Hey Adaora, I was thinking, how about we meet for dinner? There's this new restaurant in GRA. I hear the food is amazing." Adaora hesitated. She hadn't stopped thinking about their conversation at the wedding. Chike was charming, yes, but his words about her job still bothered her. Still, she agreed. Maybe she had misjudged him. That evening, Chike picked her up in a sleek black car. He looked even more handsome in a crisp white shirt and dark jeans. Adaora felt a flutter in her chest. Maybe this was it. Maybe he was the one. The restaurant was beautiful, with soft music and candles on every table. Chike ordered for both of them, and the food was delicious. They talked about everything: his work, her designs, their families. "You're amazing, Adaora," Chike said, reaching for her hand. "I've never met anyone like you." Adaora blushed. "Thank you, Chike. You're pretty amazing too." But then, as the night went on, Chike started saying things that made her uncomfortable. "You know, my mother always says a woman should know how to cook and clean. You do know how to cook, right?" Adaora forced a laugh. "I can manage, but I'm busy with work, so I don't cook much." Chike frowned. "Work is good, but family comes first. After we're married, you won't need to work so hard. I'll take care of everything." Adaora's stomach twisted. "I love my job." Chike, it's not just about money, it's who I am." Chike smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Of course, but you'll see. Once we have kids, you'll understand." Adaora didn't know what to say. She changed the subject, but the rest of the night felt off. When Chike dropped her off, he kissed her cheek and said, "I'll call you tomorrow." As she walked into her apartment, Adaora's best friend Tolu was waiting. "How was the date?" Tolu asked, her eyes sparkling. Adaora sighed. "I don't know, Tolu. He's sweet, but he wants me to quit my job after we get married." Tolu's eyes widened. "What? No way." "Adaora, you can't let him control you like that." "I know, but what if this is my only chance? What if I never find someone else?" Tolu grabbed her hands. "Listen to me. You're smart, beautiful, and talented. You don't need a man to complete you. If he can't see how amazing you are, then he's not the one." Adaora nodded, but her heart was heavy. She didn't want to be alone, but she didn't want to lose herself either. The next day, Chike called. "Adaora, I've been thinking. Let's make this official. I want you to meet my family." Adaora's heart raced. Meeting his family was a big step. Maybe she was overthinking things. Maybe Chike was just old-fashioned, but he could change. Okay, she said, I'd love to. But deep down, a voice whispered, Are you sure? The day Adaora met Chike's family, the sun was shining brightly, but her stomach was in knots. She wore her best dress, a flowing Ankara gown she had designed herself, and carried a basket of fruits as a gift. Chike had told her his family was traditional, and she wanted to make a good impression. When they arrived at the house, a large bungalow in a quiet neighborhood, Chike's mother was waiting at the door. She was a tall woman with a stern face, and her eyes scanned Adaora from head to toe. Welcome, my daughter, she said, but her voice was cold. Inside, the living room was filled with family members, aunties, uncles, and cousins. They all stared at Adaora as if she were a strange animal in a zoo. Chike's father, a quiet man with a thick mustache, nodded at her but didn't say much. So, Adaora, Chike's mother began, what do you do? I'm a fashion designer, Adaora replied, forcing a smile. His mother said, sipping her tea. That's nice, but you know, after marriage, a woman's place is in the home. My son needs a wife who can take care of him and give him children. Adaora's smile faltered. I understand, Ma, but I also love my work. I think I can balance both. Chike's aunties exchanged glances. One of them leaned forward and said, My dear, no man wants a wife who is always busy with work. You need to learn how to prioritize. Chike, sitting beside Adaora, squeezed her hand. Don't worry, Mama. Adaora is a modern woman, but she'll learn. Adaora's heart sank. Learn? She wasn't a child. She didn't need to be taught how to live her life. The rest of the visit was a blur. Chike's family asked her questions about her cooking skills, her plans for children, and even her age. 32 is not young, one auntie said. You need to hurry up and marry before it's too late. By the time they left, Adaora felt like she had been through a war. She was quiet in the car, her mind racing. They liked you, Chike said, breaking the silence. Did they? Adaora asked, her voice tight. Of course, they just want what's best for us. You'll see, once we're married, everything will fall into place. Adaora didn't respond. She stared out the window, her heart heavy. When Chike dropped her off, he kissed her cheek and said, I'll call you tomorrow. As soon as she walked into her apartment, Tolu was there, waiting. How did it go? Tolu asked. Adaora burst into tears. It was awful, Tolu. They treated me like I was nothing, like my dreams don't matter. Tolu hugged her tightly. I'm so sorry, Ada. But listen, you don't have to do this. You don't have to marry someone who doesn't respect you. But what if I never find someone else? Adaora cried. You will, Tolu said firmly. But even if you don't, it's better to be alone than to be with someone who makes you feel small. That night, Adaora couldn't sleep. She thought about her life, her dreams, and the future Chike was offering. Was it worth giving up everything she had worked for? The next morning, Chike called. Adaora, I've been thinking. Let's set a date for the wedding. My mother suggested December. It's perfect. Adaora's heart raced. December was only 6 months away. Chike, I need some time to think, she said. Think about what? Chike asked, his voice sharp. We're not getting any younger, Adaora. It's time to stop playing games. Adaora's hands trembled. I'm not playing games, Chike. I need to be sure. There was a long silence. Then Chike said, Fine, but don't take too long. I'm not waiting forever. When the call ended, Adaora felt like the walls were closing in. She had a decision to make, and it wasn't going to be easy. The weeks that followed were a whirlwind of emotions. Chike became more insistent, calling Adaora every day to talk about wedding plans. His family sent messages through him, suggesting colours for the asoebi and venues for the ceremony. Adaora felt like she was being pulled in a direction she didn't want to go. One evening, after a long day at work, Adaora came home to find Chike waiting outside her apartment. Chike, what are you doing here? She asked, surprised. I wanted to see you, he said, smiling. I brought dinner. Adaora let him in, but her heart was heavy. They sat at her small dining table, eating jollof rice and fried plantains. Chike talked excitedly about the wedding, but Adaora could barely focus. Chike, she finally said, putting down her fork. We need to talk. Chike's smile faded. About what? About everything. The wedding, your family, my job. I feel like you're not listening to me. I love my work, and I don't want to give it up. Chike sighed. Adaora, we've been through this. A woman's place is in the home. You'll see, once we're married, you won't need to work. I'll take care of everything. But I don't want to be taken care of, Adora said, her voice rising. I want to be a partner, not a dependent. I want to keep designing, keep creating. It's who I am. Cheeky's face hardened. You're being selfish, Adora. Marriage is about sacrifice. If you can't make sacrifices, then maybe you're not ready for this. Adora's eyes filled with tears. Maybe I'm not ready to sacrifice myself. Maybe I'm not ready to give up everything I've worked for. Chike stood up, his chair scraping against the floor. Fine. If that's how you feel, then maybe we shouldn't do this. Maybe I should find someone who understands what it means to be a wife. Adora's heart shattered. She had known this moment was coming, but it still hurt. If that's what you want, Chike, then go ahead, but I won't apologize for wanting more out of life. Chike stared at her for a long moment, then turned and walked out the door. The sound of it slamming shut echoed in Adora's ears. She sat there, tears streaming down her face until Tolu arrived. Ada, what happened? Tolu asked, rushing to her side. It's over, Adora whispered. Chike and I, we're done. Tolu hugged her tightly. I'm so sorry, Ada, but you did the right thing. You stood up for yourself. That takes courage. Adora cried into her friend's shoulder, letting out all the pain and frustration she had been holding in. When the tears finally stopped, she felt a strange sense of relief. What now? She asked, her voice shaky. Now, Tolu said, you focus on you. You're strong, Adora. You're talented and beautiful and kind. You don't need a man to complete you. You're already enough. Adora nodded, wiping her tears. For the first time in months, she felt a glimmer of hope. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing. She wasn't going to let anyone dim her light again. Months passed, and Adora threw herself into her work. She designed a new collection inspired by her journey, bold, colourful pieces that celebrated strength and independence. Her business grew, and she even started mentoring young designers who looked up to her. One sunny afternoon, as she was setting up for a fashion show, her phone buzzed. It was a message from Chike. Adora, I've been thinking about you. I miss you. Can we talk? Adora stared at the screen, her heart pounding. She hadn't heard from Chike since their breakup, and part of her wanted to ignore the message, but another part of her felt curious. She decided to meet him, just to see what he had to say. They met at a quiet cafe, the same one where they'd had their first date. Chike looked different, tired, maybe even a little sad. Adora, he said, his voice soft. I've missed you. Adora folded her arms. Why are you here, Chike? Chike sighed. I've had a lot of time to think. I realize now that I was wrong. I was so focused on what I thought a marriage should be that I didn't see how amazing you are. Your passion, your talent. I was a fool to think you should give that up. Adora's eyes widened. She hadn't expected this. I'm not saying this because I want you back, Chike continued. I just wanted you to know that I see you now, and I'm sorry for not seeing you before. Adora felt a lump in her throat. Thank you, Chike. That means a lot. They talked for a while, catching up on each other's lives. Chike had started therapy and was working on understanding his own biases. Adora told him about her new collection and how happy she was. As they left the cafe, Chike turned to her. I hope you find everything you're looking for, Adora. You deserve it. Adora smiled. Thank you, Chike. I hope you do too. That evening, as she walked into her apartment, Adora felt a sense of peace she hadn't felt in a long time. She had faced her fears, stood up for herself, and come out stronger on the other side. The next day, her fashion show was a huge success. The audience cheered as her models walked down the runway, wearing her vibrant designs. Adora stood backstage, tears in her eyes, as she realized how far she had come. After the show, Tolu ran up to her, grinning from ear to ear. Ada, you did it! This is your moment! Adora hugged her friend tightly. I couldn't have done it without you, Tolu. Thank you for always believing in me. As she looked out at the crowd, Adora felt a surge of pride. She had chosen herself, and it had led her to this moment. She didn't know what the future held, but she knew one thing. She was ready for it.